I'm in California here. We have earthquake kits, like with some supplies to help us in the rare case, let's say that we have a very disruptive earthquake. So sometimes that thought comes to mind with organizations like, okay, well, what's in my kit? Like, how do I prepare? How do I how do I have less pain later if, depending on what my role is too, I might have different levels of responsibility, as leaders, we're responsible for the livelihoods of all these people. And that's a big responsibility. So what's the leader's stance in this?
Heidi, thank you for joining us today. Before we get started here, could you just tell us quickly who you are and who you work for, please?
Sure. My name is Heidi Helfand. I'm author of the book Dynamic Reteaming, and I currently work with the wonderful people at Reteaming. We are a consultancy in the U.S. Based in Santa Monica, and we build custom software for a variety of different companies and work with teams to help them get better at what they do while we're building the software with them. So
awesome. And you are going to be speaking at Leading Edge later on this year. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about there?
yeah, I'm going to be talking about different strategies that you can apply, different ways that you can strengthen your teams to prepare for changes that are just going to happen, right? The fact is, team change is inevitable in our software companies. So you might as well strengthen your existing organization to kind of bend and flex with the changes as opposed to kind of crumble, right? So we'll be talking about a variety of different signals so people can think deeply about what it's like today at their organizations, and also go over some tactics for making it easier and for strengthening our organizations. So,
yeah, and in your experience, what's one of the biggest lessons you've learned about the importance of building teams that can kind of flex to change?
yeah, one of the biggest lessons clearly is working together and not having single owners of systems who work alone and then they leave the company, and then you're left with a whole variety of problems that take months to recover from. So pair programming, switching pairs within a team and across teams, if I were to pick one thing to do, that would be it.
We're talking about kind of reacting to change, and obviously this year has been marked by just huge levels of change. The advice that you're going to be giving at Leading Edge, is it kind of applicable at all times, or is it just more applicable than ever right now with all the chaos that's kind of enveloping the industry?
Some of the change surprises us and we have to deal with it. And it could be at the individual level, the team level, the team of teams level, the company level. Sometimes we have all of these going on at once. Other times, maybe as organizational leaders, we want to deliberately and strategically kind of morph our team structures so they are stronger later. And then they, might be able to kind of withstand unexpected change that happens. We need to prepare, we can do both. We can try to flex and reteam in order to prepare for the future. And then also, our people are going to come and go from our companies. So we just need to recognize that, notice that, and try to make the most of it. So.
Yeah, and I think, you're advocating for a really strategic kind of approach here in terms of thinking through how your team may flex over time. But I think what a lot of people in the industry may have been taken aback by this year was the kind of speed and scale of the layoffs that have hit the industry. And maybe, you wake up one day and you're surprised to see that the person that does have the system ownership of that key system has now left the company. And you kind of have to figure that stuff out on the fly. Is that the difficulty here, is the ability to flex kind of long term, but then also in the immediate aftermath of a reorg or a round of layoffs or a seismic change like that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of empathy for people who've experienced that, and we've seen a lot more of that in the past few years for sure. Some of us have seen it up close. Some of us have seen it more at a distance. there's, a wide variety of tactics that we can leverage to cope with things like that. So there's all there are different signals and elements that we can use to prepare for these kind of changes and others, for one. But then when you're in it, I think really there's also some practical tools that you can lean into. I really like, there's a book by William Bridges about transitions. He has several of them, and really like acknowledging the ending or noticing and discussing the ending, knowing that there's going to be a period of uncertainty that feels uncomfortable and it's challenging for a lot of people. So support is helpful in the case of layoffs for those that have departed the company, and for those who have remained at the company, it's differently challenging for both of those groups. So we need to pay attention to both.
Yeah, I don't think that we do a great job typically of kind of responding to that change. I think often organizations will make that change and it will be like, right, let's get back to work. And there's not that moment of kind of reflection of, okay, this is what the team looks like now. This is the work that needs to get done. This is how we're going to move forward. Like, I don't think people are very comfortable having those conversations, even though they're so valuable.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Like, I remember I was at a company and we had a reorg, and what happened was a new leader came in, and there were our leadership team was essentially split into two teams. So some of the peers became managers of the other peers. These were like director level. So some of our peers got elevated to VP, and they became part of this like higher level leadership team, and others were reporting to them and like formed this other kind of hierarchical level of a team. And we were reorged through one-on-one conversations. And so we all kind of heard this news, and we had been like a pretty collaborative, tight leadership team. I mean, we had worked together for at least, I was there. We had worked together for at least a couple of years together as that particular team entity before the new leader came in. And so we had this communication. It was all separate. But it wasn't until we all got together and had a discussion to talk about what happened and to kind of look to the future and, maybe even see some opportunities there, and to be happy for our colleagues that got promoted and got into a different level in their careers. And, I think during that period of uncertainty, right, that I was talking about, the endings, the neutral zone, and the new beginning with the Bridges model, it's like, if you leave people just on their own, they're going to make up stories about what had happened. But if you bring people together, we brought in a consultant at the time to like really talk about, like, well, what just happened and what's the future? And even sharing a model like this is helpful. I think it can go a long way because it's invisible, the degree, like you experience the change, and then some people are in the future state immediately. We do have to deliver software, like while this is all going on, right? It's this layer of organizational change and challenge that we have to deal with as well. So we got to talk about that. We got to lean into that. We got to get better at that. But then along the way, we still have to get that software done and do it well and high quality. And we have to build things that the customers love.
Okay, so let's fast forward now to you're coming down off the stage. You've given your talk. You're feeling very relieved. What do you hope that the audience takes away?
I want people to have a sense of feeling inspired and feeling like, okay, I have several things to think about now and incorporate into my strategy for what the future of my teams and organizations look like. I have more to grasp. I can read follow-up articles. I can think about this. I can do particular activities that I will share. They can do some things with their teams, like right when they get back to work. So I like to try to be pragmatic when I'm sharing ideas and giving talks. So I hope that they'll be really inspired.